let's look at how do we do that transformation? Who do you want to be in terms of business presentation? If you're going to use video for that transformation, you need to make video work for you. You need to make video work for you, not against you. And you need to make video work for you, that unique individual that you are and that your business is, because video is much, much more than just a carrier of information. It is, in fact, the creator of perceptions.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, well, let's take a moment to introduce Dr. Chris Willems, who is a specialist communication consultant and coach. So he works with, in corporate communications, creative industries, and in international award-winning television. And he's also worked in schools as well too, or certainly tertiary education. So interesting thing about Chris is that he has spent a considerable number of years as a mime artist. No, that was not when he got married. This was actually part of his job. And the interesting thing about being a mime artist is that communication still happens, except you haven't got your mouth to communicate with. You have to communicate those concepts with your body expressions and emotions. So, of course, that's all part of communication tonight. And that's why he is so good at what he does too, teaching other people about communication. So tonight, we are talking about communication, particularly on-camera communication. Why do we want to do that? Well, one of the common things that people say is that they're not particularly comfortable in front of the camera, or they look funny. They need to do makeup. There's all sorts of excuses why people don't want to be on camera. Well, Chris helps people to be comfortable, confident, and credible there, which means that you project yourself, which really enhances your brand, your authority, and credibility online. So, and you'll often see Dr. Chris with his 1 minute micro masterclasses. So look out for those online as well too. So some really good little snippets of video there, which will really help you with your online communication. But tonight we have him exclusively to come and share all of his secrets with us tonight to help you to become confident on camera. So let's welcome to the stage, Dr. Chris Willems.
Thanks very much, Nick. Hi, everyone. Can I share my screen, Nick? Will that work?
Absolutely. Yep. If you can do that, that'll be fine.
Let's do that. And we will also need to share sound, share computer sound, mono, beautiful. It looks like it's working. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks to Nick and all of you for the opportunity to have a chat to you tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. And firstly, there's a bit of nice music for you. How's that? I don't do talking, but yeah, I do music. Okay, let's get going, shall we? This is to some extent an interactive webinar, and it's information education only. It is not, I repeat, is not a sales webinar, so you can relax about all that. What's this about? Well, actually, it's mostly about making high impact, low cost business videos. So I thought I'd start with a business video. Hi, my name's Dr. Chris Willems, and I've been coaching in corporate communication for more than 20 years. And it might surprise you to know that my background actually spans about 40 years in the performing arts and television. And it might surprise you even more to know that for 25 of those years, I was a professional mime artist. Now, just about here you're thinking, well, what the hell's mime got to do with corporate communication? Well, when you consider that mime, at its most fundamental, consists of the analysis, manipulation and stylization of body language, and that body language forms so much a part of human communication, it's not that surprising. So what's mime got to do with it? Well, actually, just about everything. It's all about you making an impact. It is indeed all about you making an impact. In fact, it's all about you making a global impact and using video to become a global leader. Let's talk about leadership and leadership and communication. The research tells us that the skill considered most critical to effective leadership is communication. That same research also tells us that it's a skill in need of greatest improvement in the majority of businesses. That's a bit of a worry. But there are different kinds of communication, as you know, and on the screen, that's some of the different kinds of communication that I've done through my different professions that I've been in. And you might look at that list and you go, they don't have a lot to do with each other. But in fact, one of the things I've learned over that long and checkered career, a few things. One is that life's not linear. The second is that everything is ultimately connected. And most importantly, no experience is ever wasted. Everything you do informs everything else that you do. Everything you do adds quality, depth, richness, and texture to everything that you do, irrespective of the field of professional practice. Everything you do teaches you something, and everything you learn is useful, not just for you, but for the people that you might teach, coach, or mentor. No experience is ever wasted. And it's precisely where those apparently unrelated fields intersect and interact and inform each other that, in my experience, that's where the most creative solutions are to be found. These are some of the organisations I've worked with, for, or consulted to over the decades. And you'll notice that they're all really different. Even organisations in the same sector are really they're uniquely different from each other because they each have a different message and they each have a different way of imparting their message. So it's great to work with those organisations and have to adapt one's skills to those different kinds of ways of communicating. So by now you're probably asking yourself the question, well, how is this relevant to you? Well, it's relevant to you because it's all about you. As I said, the unique individual that you are and that your business is, as well as all those other unique businesses. So it's all about you making an impact. And what I'm going to do is just look at like a three-phase journey. So who are you now? Who do you want to be in terms of presenting your business and how to get there? So let's look at who you are now. Well, who are you now? That's the question. Who are you? Well, you might be a business owner. You engage with shareholders, directors, a range of people and stakeholders. You might be a CEO, so you engage with those same, but also different stakeholders as well. You might be an entrepreneur, in which case you engage with those people, but you also engage because you're looking for investment. You engage with public and private investors because you're selling your ideas, your concepts, your passion, and ultimately I think you'll find that it's the passion that sells the idea in many cases. So which of these is you? I suspect it might be all of the above, and the common factor in all of the above is engagement, and we achieve engagement through effective communication. And here's a neat little definition of that. The process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, and opinions with clarity and purpose. I want to focus on those two words, clarity and purpose. So whilst you are no doubt successful, you are no doubt high achieving, and yet you are no doubt the complete professional, you may have a chink in your armor. And that is that more than 85% of all online communication these days is via video. So yes, it's certainly all about you, but it's increasingly all about you on camera. Trouble is, you hate talking to camera. If you do, welcome to the human race. Most of us do. As one of my clients so beautifully put it, if there's anything worse than listening to yourself, it's watching yourself. Unfortunately, though, these days, we no longer have a choice. Why? Because 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. That's not a typo. Every minute, 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube. So with your business videos, you've got to find a way of cutting through that tsunami of visual information. And in fact, 91% of businesses are trying to do that, trying to cut through the tsunami, and ironically, they're contributing to it at the same time. Businesses who don't use video, they articulate a range of reasons why they don't. Lack of time, don't know where to start, can't convince the boss, too expensive, can't see the need or the return on investment. So that leaves approximately 20% who don't or can't or won't articulate a reason why they don't use video. I suspect it might be because they hate talking to camera. I also suspect that some of those reasons given above are rationalizations for I hate talking to camera, but I'm not a psychologist, I wouldn't know. Speaking of psychology, in his wonderful book titled What Makes Us Tick, renowned Australian social researcher Hugh Mackay suggests that the most fundamental desire driving all of us is the desire to be taken seriously. And I would argue that in the professional context, that's magnified, it's amplified by a factor of many times, because we know what we're talking about. We're used to being listened to, and we're used to being taken seriously because we are complete professionals. So why is it then that when it comes to talking to camera, as those complete professionals, we allow ourselves to come across as complete amateurs? Why do we, within the space of half a minute, undermine professional credibility built up over half a lifetime out of a simple lack of awareness of ourselves, our visual environment, or how to present our information to a camera? Because talking to a camera is very different from talking to 400 people in an auditorium, 40 people in a seminar, or even 4 people in a boardroom. There's no visible audience, there's no feedback, there's just this piece of glass. And for most of us, this piece of glass is surprisingly intimidating. So what I'd like you to do now, just take a moment to have a look deeply into that camera lens, into that piece of glass, where all those lights converge, and say out loud after me, "This is my best friend, not my worst enemy." You ready? And this is my best friend, not
My best
my
friend,
worst enemy.
not my enemy.
Excellent, thank you. Because it needs to become your best friend. We're talking about transformation, okay? We're talking about transformation from business owner to business leader to business presenter. That's what this is about. So it's all about your transformation from business owner to business leader and business presenter. Someone knows a bit about presenting to camera is this guy here who a few weeks ago won a gold Logie, I think. Larry Emder, he and I set up a presenters course some years ago, and we taught quite a few people about presenting, and he said some very nice things about the work we did together. But the line I want you to focus on, or to look at, is this one here: the ability to turn complete amateurs into ready to perform talent. I'm not for a moment suggesting that any of you are complete amateurs in terms of your business, but you are not yet, you may not yet be professional business presenters, okay? We're talking about transformation. This is really common. People love my live presentations. Why do I feel so intimidated by the camera? Well, because it's a different medium. It's a different context that requires a different communication approach.
It's interesting when we look at conversations and we look at being taught about presentations, a lot of us are confident as speakers, but we're all still scared of cameras. So it was great to come to something with Chris today and to be able to retain our confidence in what we talk about, but learn how to talk in front of a camera and not be shy.
Learning how to talk in front of a camera and not be shy. Even though you're a good live presenter. Let's look at live presenting for a moment. These figures always blow people away, and it's based on very credible research by Albert Mehrabian many years ago. 55% is nonverbal body language. 38% of communication is the tone of your voice, how you sound, which leaves a miserable 7% in terms of the words that you say. So if these three things aren't working together, if they're incongruent, no one's going to take a blind bit of notice of you or your business message. If we translate that to the on-screen context, let's assume the words are worth about the same, arguable, but for the purpose of the exercise, let's do that. You are now in a frame, like we are now. You're literally in a frame. So everything's magnified, everything's amplified. Micro expressions take on a whole new meaning and level of importance because you're in that frame. What you share that frame with are the visuals around and behind you. Okay, and these absolutely take on a whole new level of importance. So the challenge is, this is our new reality. You know this. Video is the dominant online tool, and it's going to do nothing but increase in terms of its dominance. You are the face of your business. You're the personification of your organization. So how you come across determines how your business is perceived and judged in the professional world. And that's why you need to get comfortable and confident presenting to camera, not only for your own professional credibility, but for that of your business as well. It's all about becoming comfortable on camera, becoming confident on camera, and becoming therefore credible on camera. And that is transformation. Let's look at how do we do that transformation? Who do you want to be in terms of business presentation? If you're going to use video for that transformation, you need to make video work for you. You need to make video work for you, not against you. And you need to make video work for you, that unique individual that you are and that your business is, because video is much, much more than just a carrier of information. It is, in fact, the creator of perceptions. Let's rewind. Let's go back to first principles. What fundamentally is business communication? Two people talking to each other. Online business communication is those same two people talking to each other via a screen. And that's what we're doing right now. We've been doing it for years. I love this quote because it reminds us that the more we use technology, the more important those human relationships are. Human connections, human communication, human relationships. The more we use technology, which we're doing every day. So the crucial consideration then is keeping it human, but how do we do that? How do we achieve that personal human engagement in this increasingly depersonalized digital AI artificial environment? Well, part of the answer, at least, is making sure that it's authentically you that's coming across, because that's the version of you that we perceive and that we relate to or not. And it's all about perception. So how are you perceived at the moment? We're very rarely perceived by others how we perceive ourselves. Okay, so how are you actually perceived on camera? Do you come across as professional, or does it intimidate you and you come across as insecure and unsure? Well, you find out by going back to some basics and asking yourself some really, really fundamental questions, like what makes you you? What defines you? Who are you? Have you experienced successes and perceived failures? And I say perceived failures because in my experience, things that seem like failures at the time either turn out to be successes, or at the very least, they turn out to be catalysts for success further down the track. Have those things affected your confidence? Absolutely, they have. Does that manifest in how you come across? Absolutely, it does. And the reason this is so important is because it's all about perception. If you look at these three people here, these are three really, really experienced journalists. Two of these people are much more familiar sitting in the foreign environment of a TV studio than the third one. You don't need to be a body language expert to work out which of those three people is less comfortable in that foreign environment of a TV studio. So if it's all about perception, we need to manage those perceptions. And I'm assuming that the perception you want to create is one of authority, of credibility, and of leadership. And we do that, we achieve that by clear, concise, confident on-camera communication. These two things are sort of two halves of the brain. You can't have one without the other. They're mutually interdependent. Unfortunately, to establish that authority, you don't have a lot of time when it comes to video. In my view, you've got about 3 seconds before you are one click away from oblivion. But if you get video right, you can take your best and brightest business ideas to the world. To do that, though, you need to understand the basics of the medium. Let's look at video. Some good things about video. It's repeatable and it's cost effective. You record it once, you can play it any number of times in any number of places around the globe, which means you've got a huge audience. You've got a global audience that's huge. And that means it can potentially go viral. Some not so good things about video are that it's repeatable and it's cost effective. But if cost effective equals cheap looking, it can also equal nasty. And if that huge audience doesn't like what it sees, you're doing yourself and your business a serious disservice. And I'm sure we've all seen things that have gone viral for all the wrong reasons, and you don't want to be part of that. So besides self-consciousness, there are some other factors to consider. And here's just a few of them. There's cost, there's your content, your credibility. What's it doing to your reputation if you do a bad video? What's your message? How do you engage with your audience through this depersonalized medium? So the challenge then is to how to accommodate, integrate, and reconcile all of those and many more factors. And yes, sometimes they're conflicting. And at the same time, come across as authentic and human. Well, some people are better at it than others. I've got a couple of case studies here, and I apologize in advance for the bad audio on this first one. It was taken down off the internet not long after it was put up for reasons which will probably become apparent. So you just have to listen a bit harder for the audio in this one. This is case study 1.
Labor plans to abolish negative gearing as we know it, and to double capital gains tax on profit. It's simple. If you own your own property, under Labor's policy, it will be worth less. If you rent your own home under Labor's policy, you will pay more. Labor's Shadow Treasurer, Chris Willems, says he plans to take Labor's policy to the next election unchanged. This would be a mistake and cause significant damage to Australia's property market. Labor just wants to increase your taxes. It wants to increase your taxes on your income, on your business, on your personal savings, on your electricity bill, and of course on your property. Only the coalition can be trusted to lower your taxes and to keep the Australian economy strong.
Okay, let's have a bit of a review of that. Who's the target audience, do you reckon? Presumably it's the voters of Australia. Does he connect with us? And feel free to put answers in the chat. I mean, we're talking about this is, essentially a professional communicator. So if the answer, if he connects with us, how and why? If not, how and why not? Some prompting questions, and we ask those questions of this presenter, but we also need to ask them of ourselves when we make our business videos. So what is your message? What's in the background? Have a look past the presenter and have a look what's in the background. What does the background tell us? What does it convey? And does it support the message? And does it relate to the target audience? These are questions that we all need to think about when we're doing business videos, okay? Think about who this is for and what's in the picture, what's behind the presenter, and what's he saying. Another case study, and I'll preempt this by saying that these two people have English as a second language. So again, we make allowances for that, but have a look.
Hey everyone, it's Valtteri Bottas.
This is Zhou Guanyu.
And we would like to welcome Stake to join our Formula 1 team.
We're really excited to go racing with Stake this year.
And of course, to see all of you at racetracks around the world.
Stay tuned to see our new car livery on 7th of February.
And thank you for the support, as always.
Okay, let's have a quick review. Does anybody know who they are? If you know, put it in the chat box. If you don't, that's fine. Do you know what they do? I can tell you that these two gentlemen are two of only 20 people on the planet that do what they do at the level they do. And they're exceptionally skilled professionals. Do they connect with us? There's that question again. Do they connect with us? Again, prompting questions. What's their message? What's in the background? From where I sit, there's nothing in the background except an empty studio. Does anything visual relate to their professional field? And more importantly, does anything visual reflect their status as exceptionally skilled professionals? As I say, there are only two of only 20 on the planet that do what they do. They are Formula 1 racing drivers, but there's nothing in that left-hand picture that tells us anything about that or what they do or how skilled they are. And they get paid a lot of money because they're very skilled. They are skilled at doing what they do. They are less skilled at being presenters because that's not their job. So irrespective of one's outstanding knowledge, skills, or achievements, very few of us are natural presenters. So if you're not, don't give yourself a hard time, rather do something about it. One of the things you can do about it is to change your mindset. And I strongly recommend the work and writings of Professor Selena Bartlett, who's a neuroscientist, who's written extensively about neuroplasticity and changing the brain. The conventional wisdom was that your brain grows until you're 25 and then it stops growing and stops developing. Rubbish. Neuroplasticity is what it's all about. And you can retrain your brain to retrain your mindset. Professor Selena Bartlett. So the crucial considerations then are keeping it human, keeping it authentic, and keeping it engaging, and at the same time, creating high impact, credible, professional quality business videos. Well, how do you do that? How do we create those personable but highly professional business videos without breaking the bank? Well, the answer is literally in your pocket. The cameras that we have in these devices that we carry around are really, really good. But someone who knows a lot more about cameras and filmmaking than I do is this bloke here, Sam Mendes, who's directed the odd decent film like Skyfall, 1917, a few other pretty good movies, who says of these cameras that they are very, very good. So everyone can make a film, but not everyone can tell a story. And that's the difference. So what's your story? What's your business story? Well, we're about to find out, because what I want you to do is to take out your device, fire up the camera and shoot a selfie video that goes for 15 seconds. That's all, not a long time. 15-second video. We'll make it about your business because you know what you're talking about, I assume. And you've got 1 minute to shoot it. All right. So that's a 4-to-1 shooting ratio. That's reasonably generous. So a 15-second video, you've got 1 minute to shoot it, and I'll time you, and your time starts now. Okay. Time's up. How did we go? Did we go vertical or did we go horizontal? Photos are great vertical. When you're shooting video, go landscape, go horizontal. I know there's some platforms that want you to do it square or vertical, but if that's the case, the point is we see the world in landscape mode. We're looking at screens now in landscape mode, okay? For those platforms that want you to go vertical, square, do it in landscape mode and crop it to suit that, because it means your videos are much more usable across more platforms. Is it too light or too dark? There's a couple of rooms that are fairly dark there. Just make sure using natural light's great if you can. It's a bit dark now, but make sure the light's not behind you and that you become a silhouette. Okay, if the camera can't see you, we can't see you. Did you look at the lens or did you look at the screen? If the eyes looking back at you in playback are not looking at you, that means you're looking at the screen, not the lens, when you shot your video. So find that almost invisible dot on your device, and that's what you look at when you're shooting your video. And did anybody go appreciably over or under 15 seconds? It's remarkable how much you can squeeze into 15 seconds. It's equally remarkable how quickly 15 seconds comes screaming up at you. So get used to doing things in short bite-sized chunks, okay? So as a complete professional in the 21st century, we need to understand the video medium. We need to develop what I call our visual vocabulary, and we need to overcome our fear of the camera. Why? Because you no longer have a choice. And one of the reasons you no longer have a choice is this little ball of fluff here, which, as you well and truly know, shut the whole place down for a couple of years, and we all found ourselves in the Zoom room, and we're back there again. We're back in the Zoom room. And even though we've been using Zoom for a few years now, as a species, we actually haven't gotten much better at it. And I've got an illustration here of some of the really common things that still happen when people use Zoom. And here's an example. You might recognize a couple of those faces. First thing is framing, and in particular headroom. And headroom is the distance between the top of the head and the top of the frame, okay? Very common that there's too much headroom. Anything with a yellow circle on it demonstrates that too much headroom. Lighting, make sure you're not a silhouette. If you look at the left hand, the red circles there, the lady on the left has she got the light behind her, so she's more or less a silhouette. It's really hard to see those micro expressions. And the cabinet room just above and to the right of her, there's two people in there, or at least one who may as well not be there because we can't see them for two reasons. One is because the light's behind them, and the other is because a function of the lenses that we use in these devices tend to be wide angle lenses. And a feature of a wide angle lens is it throws the background way back and pulls the foreground way forward. Okay, so that's the person in the cabinet room may as well not be there. Backgrounds, speaking of backgrounds, bookcases and things, yeah, they're fine. You look like a learned, well-read person, but they can sometimes be a bit visually busy. And there's one there that looks, in the purple circle there, the bottom of those two looks borderline scary with that forced perspective rather. And to the kind of in the middle there, Liz Truss has got a flagpole growing out of her head. And by contrast, if you look down the bottom left, Amanda Milling, that's a really clean background, no distractions whatsoever. Trouble is her hair happens to be very similar color and tone to the background, which means that disappears and she kind of looks a bit like a face floating in space. So it's good to have something in the background just to give it some definition. And a good illustration, what I said before about going vertical, have a look at how much screen real estate you're losing by going vertical. Effectively, 2/3 of the screen is being wasted because you've gone vertical, okay? Always go horizontal when you're on Zoom. So the 3 ticks there, they're not too bad. I'm not sure what Boris was thinking, but it certainly wasn't about framing the shot. Now, these people have legions of media advisors and press teams. And if you look carefully down the bottom there, you'll see the press team headquarters, and it appears that there's no one there. I suspect they might have been all down the pub instead of advising their charges as to how best to use this medium. Eye contact is the most fundamental part of human communication. Okay, and when we're on Zoom, we think we're making eye contact because I'm looking, yeah, of course I'm making eye contact. I'm looking at all of you on the screen. Of course I am. From my point of view, I'm making eye contact with you. From your point of view, I'm not, until I lift my gaze up to there, to the lens. Okay, now I'm making eye contact with you from your point of view, but from my point of view, I'm not, because I can't see you other than peripherally. So this is a bit tricky to get your head around that one. So my advice is, if you're listening to someone presenting a Zoom, a chat or whatever, it's fine to look at the screen, absolutely fine, because you're looking at what they're saying and how they're saying it. But when you're speaking, when you're hosting, when you're running the webinar, when you're presenting, lift your gaze to the lens. Again, it's that little dot that you'll find on the top of your screen. Another feature of these cameras is that they tend to be autofocus. So unfortunately for the former governor of the Reserve Bank, the cameras gone, oh, there's some nice Indigenous artwork in the background. I don't think I'll focus on that because there's nice straight lines there. And for the entire length of the interview, which from memory was quite a long interview, the foreground, the presenter, was out of focus, but the background was in focus. You don't want that to happen, okay? What you want is the opposite. So when you're doing Zoom, ask yourself, do I have too much headroom or not enough? Is the camera angle too low, too wide? What's your distance from the lens? I can lean back a little bit and look like I've gone back a long, long way, or I can come right forward and scare the crap out of everybody. What's your distance from the lens? Are you making real eye contact? And where's the light coming from? Are you a silhouette? And really importantly, what's in your background or your virtual background? Is that in focus? The photos that they use, the images that Zoom provides, they're beautiful photos, but they're all in focus. What you actually want is something, the background, to be out of focus slightly, and that helps to define and sculpt you as the foreground in focus presenter. So I talk about this because Zoom is much more than just a convenient way of having a meeting over geographical distances. It is, in fact, an often missed micro-marketing opportunity, even in these matchbox-sized screens we've got. So let's go beyond Zoom. We're all a bit over Zoom, I think. Let's talk about standalone videos and the digital version of you. We need to think differently, and we need to see things differently if we're going to use video. So some really basic video stuff, and this is kind of part of that visual vocabulary that I talk about a lot. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with terminology and jargon in the film and TV industry. Like I said, there's all these words that mean nothing to us. But if you look at things like shot size, the reason there's a person on the right-hand side, and I'm assuming you can see that behind the photos of all of us, is that shot sizes are generally defined by how they relate to the human body. So a full-length shot is from top of your head, bottom of your toes. A 3/4 shot is top of the head to roughly knees. A mid shot is roughly top of the head to roughly waist. The MCU, or medium close-up, is head and shoulders, and then there's the close-up, and sometimes, occasionally, you might use an extreme close-up, but that kind of gets a bit scary if you're not careful. So the bread and butter shot of television, film, video is the MCU, the medium close-up. That's kind of what we're all in now, pretty much, the MCU. We're used to seeing that. We accept it. We don't even question it. It doesn't even occur to us. Don't even think about it. We're so used to seeing it. So if we put these shot sizes into context, like that's an MCU, head and shoulders, we see a bit of the background. That's the bread and butter shot. The close-up, with more detail and more scrutiny of the presenter, because you get more detail in those micro expressions. The mid shot takes in a bit more of the background, and the wide shot is really useful. It's often used as an establishing shot because it gives us a sense of scale. It puts the presenter, we see a full length shot off in the distance, gives a sense of scale of where that presenter is. And I've got a really nice example here that's you might recognize this presenter.
So she'd have to go to a dry dock on the Atlantic coast of France. But there was only one dry dock on the Atlantic coast of France that was big enough to handle a ship of Tirpitz's size. This one. This is the Normandy dock in Saint-Nazaire. It had been built in the 30s when France was making giant ocean liners. And now, to make sure the Tirpitz could never have a home on the Atlantic seaboard, it had to be destroyed.
So that's a really good example. If in fact it's an extreme wide shot because he's so tiny in the frame, but that gives you that sense of scale, which is what they were trying to achieve. And just as a side comment, whether you like Jeremy Clarkson or not, he's a really good documentary maker, and that documentary in particular is brilliant. It's fantastic. So if you get a chance, it's called The Greatest Raid of All. Anyway, back to the question at hand. So some of the questions you might need to ask yourself are: what kinds of shot sizes and framing could you use for your business videos? Could you punctuate and enhance your business videos by using a variety of shots? And what type of shots would best illustrate and highlight your product and or your service? Okay, think about different shot sizes. Let's have a look at your content. What's your story? What's your business story? Who's your audience? And how do you package or repackage your story for the digital context? And that's why you need to know your audience, because you need to repackage your story for that audience in that digital context. Speaking of context, what do we see besides you in the frame? What's your story look like? Bit of a strange question to ask, but every picture tells a story. Every story evokes a picture or pictures. So if you look at those, some of those images there, you know, if you find visual images that are relevant to and can underpin your story, that's really good. There's like the corporate look, there's a holiday look, there's a kind of a festival-y nighttime look. So find images that suit your story, that are relevant to your story. It's really important to not only consider your background, but more importantly, always check your background. Some people don't. Why, I hear you ask, would I need to worry about aesthetics in a video about law or accountancy or mining or engineering? Well, because we're talking about visual storytelling. We're talking about the fundamental sense of a story well told. So if you can find images that are not only relevant to your story, but attractive to look at, attract the eye and hopefully hold the eye of the viewer, then you are streets ahead. So when you reshoot your video, and please don't delete the one that you shot, when you reshoot it, think about where you could shoot that. What's a relevant background or location for your business? How can you show the story and show it aesthetically as well as telling it? And how do you engage with your genuine human authenticity? How do you engage your audience? Okay, let's put all that together, shall we? And take your business to the world, from globe to global. All you need is your smartphone and the internet, and you have a global distribution network literally in your back pocket. There are a couple of ways to do it. There are many ways of doing it, but I'm going to focus on just two. The first is essentially what we did a few minutes ago. Okay, so the shoot, butte, distribute model, where you have an idea, you get out your phone, do a quick video, upload it to YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, whatever, Instant, LinkedIn. By contrast, the more traditional three-phase production model means you plan it beforehand. You script it, you might storyboard it or picture board it. Then you take those documents and you shoot your video according to those two documents, the script and the storyboard. Then once you've done that, you bring it back and you go into the editing process, the post-production process, where you edit it. You might add graphics or music or sound effects and visual effects, and it's only then you upload it to the internet. Some features of the shoot, butte, distribute model are that it's short, quick, and spontaneous, okay, and requires minimal, preferably no editing whatsoever. What that means, though, is the quality might be a bit variable. However, depending on your audience, it's that the immediacy of that's actually really engaging. Again, depending on your audience and your content and your context, but it's that the immediacy is great because it's got that energy and that sense of engagement. If we look at the three-phase model, because you've planned it, you scripted it, you have complete control And so when you go out to shoot it, it's a very efficient shoot because you've got all the documents to show you how to shoot it, where to shoot it, how you're going to shoot it, what kind of shot sizes and stuff. And that gives you a greater visual variety, which means potentially higher visual quality. And the editing process means you have absolute quality control. And one could argue that by adding music and sound effects, etc., you enhance the depth of engagement of your audience. So there's various styles of video, and we're familiar with these subconsciously. There's narrative, typically that's a camera, straight to camera, beginning, middle, and end. An interview style where you don't have to have an interviewer, but you can pretend there's someone there and talk to them and answer a question that they might have asked. So you don't have to look straight down the lens, because that helps with some people who are intimidated by looking straight down the camera. Documentary style combines archival and new footage. Instructional. So these are step-by-step processes, and typically safety videos fall into this category. Marketing promotion might range from quick updates to strategic campaigns that go over time. And again, the social media, typically the quick, short, attention-grabbing short video. As you know, in business, everything comes at a cost. And the conventional wisdom is that video is expensive. However, the research tells us that 42% of businesses spend between $0 and $500 on a video. 18% between 500 and 1,000. So as the price goes up, the usage tends to go down. So if we add those first two together, 60%, the majority of businesses spend between $0 and $1,000. That's chicken feed. That's not even petty cash. So it's all about you making a global impact, but that does not have to cost the earth. Speaking of going global, let's have a bit of a deeper dive into that. If you look at a typical global media network, it has these kind of departments or these kind of facets, and that are common to most of them. This is broad terms. So you have hundreds, if not thousands of people that do that. Someone's got to decide on the content, on the visual style. Someone's got to record the stuff and edit it. And they have on-air personalities to engage with their audience. So this is a typical global media network. Your global media network, it has exactly the same facets, exactly the same departments. The difference is that you don't have thousands of people to do that for you. You have you. You do the recording. You decide on the content and the visual style. You are the presenter. You're the on-air personality. So you do the engagement. And the other one I call the media mogul model. I call this the micro media mogul model, because it's all you. You can do all those things, and you should be, because you can. So when you do this, you need to think like a producer, think like a director, a designer, an editor, and finally, think like the presenter. These are all jobs that you can and should be doing, because you can. So how do we get there? Well, there are many ways of getting there. One way is, there's no doubt that if you keep doing things enough, if you teach yourself, that you will get better over time. Simply, no question about that. We've all been there. That's through trial and error. The trouble is, with this kind of stuff, everyone sees your trials and your errors globally. Okay, I equate this with simple interest. Yeah, it will improve over time. If we look at compound interest through coaching, it's a different matter altogether, because more quickly, things happen more quickly, and you get more proficient more quickly. You get more comfortable on camera earlier. You build that confidence in your visual vocabulary, and that in turn builds credibility. And when clients see that, there's a level of trust there, and you go right through to fully proficient and fully professional. And the difference between those two is, I call that the credibility deficit. On the way to that, there are hidden benefits, and I call them hidden benefits because you don't see them until you arrive at them, and different people arrive at them at different times. What I mean by those hidden benefits is that there comes a point when you're proficient enough, you have a level of proficiency in making videos, that you go, I can use video this way for my business, but I can also use it this way, that way, and the other way as well. And that's why once you need to have a certain level of proficiency and confidence in the medium to arrive at those hidden benefits. So how to maximize the value and impact of your videos in your own unique business content and context. And as one of my clients very beautifully put it, how to get the most out of video. And you can't get there until you get there. So here's an
Well, what
example
an
of that.
absolutely fabulous day. Thank you so much, Kristen. It was just such an amazing time. I really enjoyed the workshop tremendous. I got confident and in a very short space of time in being in front of the camera. Learned some totally amazing tips which I'm going to be putting into practice right away. In fact, I put several of them into practice today. I really encourage anyone to come and spend some time doing this workshop, because in a very short space of time you'll learn what it is that you need to learn with regards to how to be able to use the camera effectively and how to be able to be confident in front of the camera. So thank you so much. What a fabulous day.
And that was the fabulous Myrna. The operative words are in a very short space of time, you'll work out how to use the camera. And that's what I'm talking about, the compound interest. So it's all about you becoming that leader and how to do that. There are many ways of doing that. I would like to briefly share my way of getting you there. And that's through the CCC Mastery Program, which is a 3-phase program that has a diagnostic aspect that informs the coaching, and there are outcomes, which I just briefly talk about. So the diagnostic aspect, it's personalized and that informs the content of the coaching program. But the exciting bit is the outcomes, okay? And the really exciting bit, there are 3 outcomes: a live presentation, videos, and a webinar. The really exciting bit about this is the implementation. You can ask any performer on the planet and they will tell you that you can rehearse until the cows come home, but until you do your presentation, your performance in front of an audience, you don't know. You don't know whether it works, what works, what doesn't, what needs tweaking, what you can jettison, what needs to be reshaped, refashioned. So it's the implementation that's really, really important. And you get to do your live presentation to maybe a chamber of commerce or a small business group. You get to post your videos on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., and you get to host a webinar. I can't stress enough the implementation. It's the implementation that the value lies, okay? So you end up with a pocket full of presentation that you can keep building on and refining. So right at the start, I said, it's all about you making a global impact. It's all about you becoming confident, credible, having more influence, being a multimedia presenter. Many people can't do that. And building your reputation and your stature and your brand. That's transformation from business owner to business presenter. And we do that by getting you comfortable, confident, and credible on camera.
Just finished a digital marketing seminar with Dr. Chris, and I must say I was a little bit skeptical coming into it, but learned a lot actually, and his advice and his experience in the field is amazing, and it's certainly something I'm going to be able to take into my business. I'm in the fishing adventure tourism game, and obviously digital content is huge, and I personally would like to stay in touch with Chris and keep developing those skills into the future.
And that's what it's about, keeping developing the skills. You can have 3 outcomes, but it's keeping developing them, having the confidence to develop those. That's a really important part of the learning process. I'm very happy to share this with you. I'll send it through to Nick. It's a complimentary report, what you need to know before you set foot or face in front of a video camera. And also, as you may well have heard, there's a lucky door or lucky Zoom prize, and that is a complimentary diagnostic session with me, Dr. Chris. That's valued at $197. And what that's about is we'll get together with you and we go through collaboratively and we review your current business videos, who your audience is, what's your story, your presence, what's your content, your context, and also really importantly, that aesthetic aspect that I mentioned before. So thank you so much for listening and watching. I'm very happy to take questions now. And what I might do is I might stop sharing the screen and we'll go back and we can have a chat. Thanks very much, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Chris. There are a couple of questions there in chat already.
Yeah.
One of them is, what sort of camera are you using right now?
Right now, I'm actually just using the camera that's in my Mac laptop. But when I create my videos, I use an iPhone. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on a lot of gear, but for the kinds of videos that we post on YouTube, etc., typically, the difference between a $20,000 or $10,000 camera and a $1,000 smartphone camera is almost indiscernible in that context. If you're shooting high-end commercials or feature films, obviously you use a much better camera, but you don't need to, because the difference will be virtually indiscernible, especially for really short videos. Does that answer your question?
Hopefully that does, yes.
Okay, great.
What else? We've got another one there from Mike who says, can I read text on screen below the camera? Well, it doesn't look like I'm looking at the camera. So obviously doing a presentation with a script.
Yes, you can, but it will look a bit like you're reading something rather than speaking it. You can, for about $20, you can get an app that you can use on an iPhone. It's a teleprompter or an auto cue. Okay, there's quite a few of those around. And what that does is that it rolls the text at your own chosen speed and size. It rolls the text either over the front of the lens, or, because it's a reflection, or right next to the lens. Okay, so it looks like you are looking straight at a lens. I've got an app called, I think it's just called Teleprompter, by a guy called Joe Allen, Allen, Joe Allen. It's called Teleprompter, and I find it really, really good. If you want to be spontaneous and do a chatty thing, that's great. You don't need a teleprompter. You can just do it straight to camera. If you've got slabs of text or important technical information that needs to be correct and accurate, it's much better if you've got long bits of text to talk about, to get a teleprompter. And as I say, for $20, roughly $20, you can get an app that does that on your smartphone.
And Jeff says it's free on Android. So for those who've got an Android phone,
right,
you're winning.
Even better, yeah. The thing to be careful of, though, even with an auto cue, if you're, I mean, newsreaders have been using auto cues for decades, and so they're very skilled at reading but making it sound conversational. And the tricky bit is to get to that point where you can make it sound conversational while you're still reading. So because we tend to go, hello, I'm reading, blah, 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 and there's no inflection in the voice. Okay, so you need to build those inflections in that sound really natural, but are in fact built in consciously to make it sound like you are just speaking to us rather than reading.
Is that a thing which just comes with practice, or are there some hints and tips to help speed up that process?
It comes with practice, but if you listen back to it critically, you get pretty good at it pretty quickly. All right, because you have to keep reminding yourself, because the part of your brain that was worrying about remembering what to say, you can apply that to thinking about how you sound. And something else, and I just noticed it because my hand ran across the screen. In my body language work over the last decade and a half, it's really important to keep gesturing, even when you're on screen, and even if we can't see your hands, because what gesturing does is, if you're a person who gestures a lot, just make sure you're not sort of doing that in front of your face. But it's really important to keep gesturing, even if your hands are out of frame, because what gesturing does is it keeps the face alive and the body activated, and more importantly, it keeps the voice alive as well. Those things are all connected, all right? So don't sort of sit there and clench your fist or whatever, or try not to gesture because you think it's distracting. It's not. And it doesn't matter that we can't see it because it's out of frame, but it activates the body, the voice, and the face, and it just helps to keep the whole thing alive.
Excellent. Anyone else have any other questions or comments? Feel free to raise your hand, unmute, drop it into chat. We've got time, a couple of minutes for any last requests there.
No other questions?
Actually, I've got another one. Standing or sitting?
I'm sitting at the moment, but a lot of people have those elevated desks so they can stand, and standing, again, it's a bit like the gesturing. Standing helps to activate the body, which activates the face and it lights up the eyes and activates the voice. Even though they appear to be unconnected, they're very much connected. As presenters in whatever context, all of this needs to work together. It's like the 55% body language, 38% how you sound, and 7% words. All those things have to work together all of the time, whether it's on screen or on stage. Okay, so making it feel as natural as possible when this is a very unnatural thing, especially on camera. It's a very unnatural thing to be talking to a room full of people, to be presenting. That's why it freaks a lot of people out. But making all that stuff work together, just keeping it all congruent, is a really, really important thing, irrespective of the venue or the means by which we are communicating. And when we're in social situations, like if you go to a networking event that's in a room, like a chamber of commerce or something, it's that's about being in the room, breathing the same air as the people around you, and having a chat, and reading the body language consciously or unconsciously. And it's a bit harder to do when we're on screen, because there's only, as you saw, the MCU. We're all pretty much in an MCU at the moment, so we're missing a lot of that stuff. But what it does is it amplifies and magnifies the facial expressions and those kinds of details, so that we just have a slightly different view of the human body and those gestural things, those body language, non-verbal things. So that's why it's important to bring a level of consciousness to everything that we do. And things like, what size is the frame? What's in the background? Do I have a pot plant growing out of my head? Those kinds of things are really important to ask yourself all the time. Because, in fact, I was working with a client the other day who was setting up his room in his house. And he had, did what we often do. We have the computer on the desk looking up with the screen tilted back, so we get the up the nostril shot and 5 acres of sky or 5 acres of ceiling. So and there happened to be a really ugly air conditioning unit and an ugly fluorescent light that we could see in where the wall met the ceiling. So I suggested to him, just lift up the camera, lift up the computer with the camera in it, block it up with phone books or whatever, and have it at eye level. If you can have it at eye level, that's really good, because it framed out the hideous air conditioning unit and the hideous fluorescent light. So having it at eye level also means that you are in a neutral position. You're not either towering over your audience or being diminished by the camera being too high. So have it at eye level. It's always the best thing to do. So whether you sit or stand, you should make sure that you've got those kind of details consistent.
Fabulous. Excellent. Well, I think that's we've got time for, unfortunately. Really appreciate you coming on today to share your knowledge. In fact, you had a lot of slides and you got through them all in time. I'm impressed.
I use a lot of slides, but I do go through them quickly, and I like to use lots of pictures. So hopefully it wasn't death by PowerPoint, but and thank you very much, all of you, for your participation, your active participation. And I have one question: how did you go with shooting your videos? I couldn't stop it. Did everyone have a go? I saw a couple of people with vertical cameras, and I thought, yes, we can pick that one up. But keep practicing. It's only video. Please don't delete the one you shot for future reference. But if it's crap, you can delete it. But don't get too obsessed with it being perfect. Perfect is the enemy of finished. Okay, you're better off just doing a few takes. Don't do too many takes, because you just get bored with it and over it. There's an optimum number of takes that's different for everybody. But don't keep doing it again and again and again and go, oh my God, that's crap. It's terrible. Don't do that, because you lose confidence. Just do it. If it's reasonably okay, it's reasonably okay. All right. So I really encourage you all to just have a go, keep practicing. Whether you get coaching or not, keep practicing and lose the fear of the camera and lose that, oh my God, that's terrible. Don't ever say that to yourself. All right.
Fabulous. Excellent. Well, thanks, Dr. Chris. We do have a request there. What's your email address?
Dr. Chris at artsmediaconsultants.com. That's DRCHRIS at artsmediaconsultants, one word, .com, ARTSMEDIACONSULTANTS.com. Dr. Chris at artsmediaconsultants.com. I should put it in the chat box, shouldn't I? That would be the clever thing to do.
That's probably a good idea. So that'd be excellent. All right. Well, while you're doing that, let's put our hands together and give a sort of a warm thank you to the information from Dr. Chris today. And of course, we have that door prize as well. So anyone here brave enough to want to critique with Dr. Chris, well, not brave enough, but happy to record a video. And of course, you've all got those videos there now because you did it during the exercise that he got us to do today. So, of course, that's the door prize or the Zoom prize for today. And the way that we draw that is with our wheel of names. So we've got everybody's name in that wheel of names. So if you're thinking about disappearing now's not the time to disappear because you have to be in the room to win this. All right, well, let's spin the wheel and see who our lucky winner is tonight. And there it is. It's on its way. We'll see who it stops on tonight. And that'll be all the way from Hamilton in New Zealand, Mark Enstar. Congratulations, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Lucky Mark.
Yeah.
We will.
And Mark does a bit of stuff online anyway, so this is
great.
perfect.
Right. Yeah, we'll get in contact with each other. And Anita, I noticed you had your hand up a little while ago. Was that because you were trying to win the prize or because you wanted to have you had a question?
No, I was saying, yes, I'm definitely interested in getting critiqued and having a chat, which is why I asked for your email. So thanks
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Both. That was really good. Thanks.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks.
Thanks.
I mean, if anybody wants to contact me to just have a chat, that's fine. Quite apart from the Lucky Door Prize, which Mark, I'm sure he'll be flying over from New Zealand to do it face to face, but we'll happily do it online. But very happy to have a chat to anybody about how you're going. But that's the formal kind of the Zoom prize, the formal critique of your current videos. Thanks very much again, everyone. Really appreciate your active participation. It's great.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. And what we'll do is, if you have enjoyed tonight and you do want to watch it again, it will be up on the YouTube channel tomorrow, the Smash Go YouTube channel tomorrow, so you can review it and maybe pick up on some of the things that you missed. If you know anyone else that would enjoy it or that it would be valuable for them, then feel free to send them through to the YouTube channel as well too, to subscribe to that. Those links are now in chat, so now's a good time to save the chat by clicking the three little dots on the top right hand side, or they could be down the bottom if you've got an older version of Zoom. And tomorrow, well, we've got that PDF that Chris has kindly provided us with. So we will send that out with the email that goes out after this session. So that'll be out tomorrow or the following day. So look out for that email. We'll have a link to that PDF document in there as well too. All right, well, that's our session for tonight. That is Business Owners Smashing It Online. So let's go out there, make an impact, make some videos, and it'd be great to see some of your production out there live online as well too. So thanks again, Chris, for providing us with the experience tonight, and thanks to everyone coming along and participating tonight as well. And of course, we'll be back here same time next week, different topic. See you then. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.